Alright, what's up guys? Back in the shop. We're just going to tackle a couple smaller projects today, a little easier ones. We're going to try to move our electrical panel today from under the bunk to under the stationary bench. We're going to work on a ladder for the top bunk. And then also we're going to make some shelves that divide them cabinets in half a little bit better. I think the shelf material, I got some 1x10 in there that I'm going to use for that. And then for the ladder, I've got 2 8-foot 1x4s and a piece of 1 1/8 dowel that I picked up at our local home store. I'm going to use a handsaw today, no power tools other than a drill, and a sander, and then a square, tape measure, pencil, all that good stuff. So hopefully this won't take very long. I don't have very long today anyway, so but the ladder should be pretty easy. I'm going to show you how to figure out the angles, that way you're not trying to rack your brain on how to figure out the angles and all that stuff. I'm using the round dowel for the rungs. That way I don't have to figure out the angles on the ladder rungs to keep them flat. I know a lot of people have used 1x4s as well on the ladder rungs, and that's fine. This was just going to be something kind of quick. No more than these are going to be as long as they are. We're probably only looking at maybe an 8-inch wide ladder anyways, so that way you're not taking up the whole bottom bunk with the ladder. So that should be plenty of size for, like I said, the span on it. So we're gonna get going on that and see how it comes out. So we made it out to the camper, and I really only need 2 measurements. I need the height to the top of the bed, and then the distance out to the front of this wall, and that's really all I need for this project. So we'll do that real fast. Mine's 48 inches tall, and it comes out, sticks out 13 1/4. So I don't want to come out any farther than 13 1/4 on my angle. So we'll take our measurements back to the shop. That's really all the measurements I need, and then we'll do a layout on my bench, and that'll help get our angles for everything. Okay, so we're back in the shop, and I'm just going to do a quick layout on my bench. And I know I got a good square corner here. It's probably more square than the camper is. Then I'll take my square. And this is essentially the outside edge of that wall. So I need to keep the ladder between here and here. I'm gonna have a 1-inch leg on the top. So my board needs to run past that 1-inch mark. And then I'll make a mark on my square line, and then I'll mark the back side of it all the way. And then you can see I'm right on the edge, so I'm just going to mark the foot here. Now you can bring it out a little bit and do a straight cut and just a little foot and have a big flat part. That way it's not as steep, but really, I mean, you're talking 3 or 4 degrees total. So I'm just going to keep it within the footprint and have the most foot contact on the bottom. And then I'm just going to take my square. This is my backside mark. I just flip my board over, and then here's my mark for this square line. And I'm just going to square that whole piece off. And then this one's already marked I'm gonna make one, and then I'm just gonna set it on the other board to make the other one. And that's our piece. It's gonna need a little bit of sanding, and then it'll be kind of an extreme cut on that side, but that's it. We're just gonna set this on the other board and cut it. I'm just going to clean all these holes out to fit my dowel rod. I got my dowels cut. I got my holes cleaned out. They're not super pretty. I got 4 8-inch pieces, and then I got my runners, or my stringers, I guess. And they're pretty cleaned out. They're pretty rough looking, but like I said, we're not going to use this very often. Before I assemble this though, I'm gonna take my palm sander and go over the whole thing real good, and then put it together. And go test it out in the camper. Alright, part 2. We're gonna make shelves for this cabinet, and this is one cabinet, but I don't think I'm gonna get one full shelf in there, so I'll probably make some sort of divider in the middle, or some sort of support for it, kind of a long one. Okay, so I've got my shelves cut. I think I can actually get this full piece in there. And then I've got one piece for the small shelf, and some supports. This one will go underneath on this end, and I'll staple in. One of these longer ones will go on that far end. Same thing here, one on each end. This one I may need to cut down as well, but we're gonna take it all out, haul it all out to the camper, and see how it fits. All right, so we made it out here. I do have a stapler, and apologies if the compressor kicks on. It's probably gonna be pretty loud. And then I'm gonna snake this in, hopefully try to do it one-handed. I don't know. So like I said, that fits pretty tightly. Okay, so I've devised a scheme here. I made a little shelf bracket and I cut this long board in half. So let's try that out. So the plan is, and that's that side. There's that. No, it's not pretty. I kind of had to double stack them little pieces, but all in all, not bad. I've got some paneling. I'll use that paneling and I'll skin this, I think. So I'll just have to pull this little doodad off, that shelf support. I'll have to pull it off and then I'll skin that, and it'll be looking factory for sure by the time I get that done. But there's our little shelves. Way better. Oh, I took them out. Huh. Let's put them back in so you can see them. Slide all the way in. This guy, pretty tight fit, so I should keep them from moving around. There's those. A little closer look at them. You see my little double support bracket. That way it doesn't shift around. And then, like I said, it's tight side to side. But I wanted to be able to get into this panel because all our controls are right here. But that was that. That's part 2 of this little video. So part 3 of today is going to involve moving the CO monitor and our panel and all the wiring to this part of that bench. Part 3 also involves a whole lot of bad lighting. So let's see if I can't find a light of some sort, a drop light, anything for that. That way you can actually see what I'm doing. It's going to be pretty straightforward, I think. I'm gonna have to drill a couple holes to get through the back of everything and then to move my wires, but it should be pretty easy. A lot of wire labeling and then hooking them back up at the same spot. But I'm just gonna come down here, and if anybody's been in here, this is pretty much a big mess. The actual wires aren't in bad shape, but it's pretty messy. I mean, it looks pretty daunting, but it's really not that bad. But what we're gonna use right now is a 1.5" hole saw. And then we're gonna have to, there's these little clips on the floor, and I'll show you on this one because it's not, there's a little clip on the floor with a zip tie, and that's holding the cables down. There's a couple in here holding stuff down. So, but we're gonna have to get them moved, and I'm gonna take this wall out. That way I can run my cord closer in here. So, and then there's a few things that have to stay in this bay once we move it. This ground cord is one of them. I'm sure it's grounded straight to the frame, but there should be enough material, there is on mine, to get there. And same thing with this bar right here. I think it's probably going to have to be mounted to the floor again. I think it's a neutral grounding bar or something. But we'll find a good spot for it. I'll probably take it straight in because I think there's probably some sort of cross member or something it's bolted to. But we'll see what kind of screws it is. If it's just wood screws, we'll just screw it right back down. So there are some common wires hooked to it, so it may not be that big a deal. We can just fasten it to whatever, but there's going to be a lot of wire labeling, so you'll need some
masking tape and a pen or a marker, just to make sure you get everything back where it's got to go. And I'm going to do as much as I can before we shut the power off, and then I'm going to cut a new hole for the panel on the other side when I move it. So I'll do that before I shut the power off, and then I'll drill all my holes and kind of get everything loose before I shut everything down, and then we'll just shove it all through the wall, because we're going to mount in here. I'm going to have to move this cross brace. I'm just going to scoot it over wherever it ends up next to the panel as close as I can. That way it's got something to rest on. And I'll probably have to build a little box, because this one's got a pretty decent little structure around it. But I can also take measurements off of this so I can cut my hole the right size and not have to ruin anything if I don't have to. And then we're gonna have to move the CO monitor, but we'll keep it in the same spot kind of too, right above the panel. It'll just be in there. So here we go. So this bar can just be screwed right back down to the floor. It doesn't have to be attached to anything. So best practice is to just do one wire at a time. That's what I'm gonna do. I'll probably spare you the boring stuff of all that, but I'm gonna pull them out and then just put a piece of tape on them and label them as far as which breaker they came from. But that's just what I'm gonna do. Like I said, I'll spare you the boring stuff. Probably pick up as far as I'm just gonna label them and then shove them through the wall. So quick side note before you start taking any of these wires apart is just make sure you're unhooked. My battery's unhooked for the winter, so I don't have to worry about the 12 volt stuff. And then I'm just gonna go out and unplug it, and I have an extension cord coming out here already. So I have a drop light, and I'm just gonna bring the drop light in, and that'll be my light until I get everything hooked back up. So just do yourself a safety favor and just kill all the power. Nothing's worth it out here. So here's what I've ended up with. It's just a bunch of wires. This gray one that still has the cap on it is an extra one in there. That's the one where the blank is. Now you can connect it. I don't know if you can see there. That's better. That one doesn't have anything going to it, but it is a spare. So if you wanted to hook up outside lights or whatever, you could do that. And then everything else was just color for color, other than this one, this red with the white stripe on it. It was going to the brown. So everything else was blue to blue, yellow to yellow, green to green, red to red. This one I've got labeled as bar because it goes to this neutral bar, grounding bar, this ground bar. But I couldn't unhook anything from the back of here because all these connections inside there are actually soldered. So I did pull this panel off and seen that it was soldered, so I just put it back together. And it's got these crimp, I call them crimp wire nuts. I don't really know. They're just a crimp splice, I guess. But I cut all them off and I'll redo them. But like I said, they were color for color, so those should be pretty easy. Getting ready to shove everything through the wall and continue on here. So as you can see, once we pulled it through there, I mean, there's plenty of extra wire. I'll probably cut it, I don't know, 6-8 inches outside of this wall. That way I've got room to shove it in. This is where the box gets congested. So there's the main power side. The rest of it is just matching wire colors up. So I can push this in. I'll probably, I think I'm gonna cut a couple pieces for in here to mount this to. I'm gonna at least put one across the top because this panel is very flimsy. And then I also need to drill a small hole up above for that CO monitor. Guys, thanks for following us along on this one. Just stay tuned for the next videos. I think if it's nice enough, I'll probably work on the entrance stuff. I got a window for the door and a new step and stuff that we're going to put in. So I think that might be our next one. I do have all that stuff ready to go. So again, thanks for following us along. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Leave us a comment if you got anything to say. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you have, we really appreciate it. We really enjoy making these videos. It's a lot of fun. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.